All right, Adam Spencer, we are back for this is our first repeat episode of something on the videos. And I'm also pretty sure I probably shouldn't say this. I'm not throwing anyone else under the bus because I'm the one that posted them and also made the titles. I think yours is the only one that has not aged poorly like immediately from last week. So that's good news. I'm glad to have you back. We're gonna be talking some basketball and some NBA draft stuff. And I don't want to say my least favorite subject, but just a sensitive subject for me. That's Auburn basketball.
Well, hey, I mean, when you're the number one team in the country, and you have a potential number one overall pick. You got to talk about it, even if it might not be the best topic for an Alabama basketball fan, especially this week after the beatdown that they put in the crane kick thing.
The crane kick thing is admittedly getting under my skin a lot, and it's because it's so frustrating. But at the same time, man, Bama fans will hate hearing me say this, and 3 years ago I would have never thought I would have said something like this. It's been pretty fun to watch this team and this program kind of be built under Bruce Pearl. And it's a lot like I saw a comparison today, and I want to talk about this first, and I should have told you before we started recording. But there's a comparison that was made about how this team is so similar to the 2010 Auburn football team. And in the fact that they have this stud athlete, could be a number one overall pick in his respective draft. They have a coach that is new, but they think proven. I guess I did not think they compared Chiswick to Bruce Pearl. That did not seem like a great comp to me. But regardless, the fact of going into these games where you had this slow building confidence throughout the season, where early on maybe some close games, you have a loss here in basketball, but as the season goes on, you just didn't feel like you were going to lose if Cam Newton was your quarterback. And I don't get the sense that this team's going to lose in conference play, especially until maybe March at the earliest. And what are your thoughts on that comparison and just overall?
Well, I think it starts out strong with the Cam
right
thing, and then it goes down. I don't know. Auburn had that scare against Mizzou. So maybe the 2014 Auburn football team that lost the national title game that they beat Mizzou with Trey Mason running for like
2013. Yeah, that was crazy.
Maybe, but yeah, I don't know. The Cam Jabari, that's a pretty solid comparison. I like that.
I would say the fact that honestly, I thought about this for a minute because Cam Newton is just a generational type talent, and that's not taken away from Jabari at all. It's just he has so much talent around him. That Cam Newton team, there was one other offensive player drafted. It was in the fifth round, but this team. Like you look at it, it is scary. The depth they have, it's scary. Like how there's so many players that don't really go unnoticed, but there's so many players that contribute at such a high level that would be like superstars anywhere else, and they all mesh together really well. But I know you want to talk about Jabari and what the future first round pick should be in the comparisons as well.
Right, Jabari Smith, and I think that the other front runner right now is Paolo Banchero of Duke. They play the same position. They're roughly the same size. They're big guys. They, and then you have the other outside candidate for the number one pick is Chet Holmgren, the big dude at Gonzaga.
That's not a name. Like it took me a second because Chet Holmgren does not sound like somebody to be a number one pick in the NBA draft, let alone a draft pick at all. But yeah, go ahead.
Right, but he's right there too. But I'd have him at number 3 as things stand right now. But I just thought maybe we could compare Paolo with Jabari here, and I can explain to you why Auburn's gonna have another number one overall pick on its hands here.
Here's the deal. And I'm gonna bless you with this opportunity here, Adam. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not even gonna tell you what I think because I have a bunch of notes on this. I'm a huge basketball guy, and if anyone knows how to break down the game of basketball, it's this guy who scored 9 points in a church league game in 8th grade. So start off, get us underway with jump shooting.
Yeah, so this is where Jabari really shines. Yes, Paolo can shoot, but Jabari Smith's shot is Kevin Durant-esque.
Yeah,
so that's where the comparison is made. That's why the comparison is made. He gets the shot up, like it's almost impossible to block.
Right,
he releases it so high. He has a jab step that he can create space with. He can shoot from anywhere on the court at any time with any amount of defenders around him, and that's a skill you just really can't teach. Yeah, he has a rough night every now and then, but he's getting more consistent, and he doesn't go into slumps, and that's a good thing. he'll bounce back the next game after he has an off night. So, he's a really good player in that regard, but jump shooting for Jabari is absolutely his biggest strength. And that's far and away like where he has an advantage over Banchero, who sometimes goes a little cold.
Right. Yeah. Watching that game the other night and watching them throughout the season, they don't seem to go cold a lot at all. I know the Mizzou game, I missed that one, so it's a little bit skewed. I don't have any examples of them kind of underwhelming in performance, but like I just sat there the other night and I was watching. I was like it took me a second. I was like, hold on, Bama's down by like 20 points right now. They were down by like 6, like a minute and a half ago. Like, what the hell is going on right now? But Jabari, you're right. It's so hard to like get a hand in his face, and he doesn't seem like he's that big. He just seems like a point guard out there because he's just so like silk with everything that he does.
Walker Kessler is the nation's leader in blocks, and I don't even know if Walker could block some of these Jabari Smith shots the way that he shoots it. So, I mean, that's a great skill to have.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I would love to see that like in practice every day. Just if we can get a live view of that, that'd be better in some of the games we have to see on Saturday. So, all right, take us to the next skill set here.
So ball handling, that's where Paolo gets a little bit of an edge. Banchero, he's better at getting to the lane and getting to the rim and finishing than Jabari is at this point. He gets down low. He can turn his back to the basket and really has some better post moves than I've seen from Jabari. That's not to say he can't do it, but Banchero is just at this stage in the game, he's just a little bit better with his ball handling. He's also averaging, I think, like an assist more per game than
that's Paul. That's just, that's it changes my whole mind about the whole thing. So
exactly. So and that segues into the next category, passing. I also think that Banchero has the edge there, but that's also because of the way that Duke and Auburn differ. The ball is in Banchero's hands a lot more. He's asked to make more plays with the ball in his hands. So, we just haven't seen that from Jabari yet. So I don't know, like, is that a skill that he has that he's just not using? I would say probably, just because of how good he is at everything else.
That's a fair assumption.
We just haven't seen that yet because, Auburn gets a lot of points in the pick and roll offense. Jabari doesn't really run that. That's a situation where Flanagan and Jasper and Wendell Green are all, just lobbing these easy alley-oops to Walker Kessler and Dylan Cardwell, and then they slam it home, and they do that like 8 to 10 times a game.
I still have PTSD from it. So, I mean, let me ask you this question too. And when you talk about going like number 1 overall, like a lot of times, obviously, I mean, pretty much every time, whoever has the number 1 draft pick has been an awful team the year before, right? And so it's going to take a while. See Anthony Edwards has had a lot of success early, but it's a lot of individual success, right? Even if he's paired with a guy like Karl Anthony Towns. Like, do you think it would possibly? It has nothing to do with his talent or ability, but like, do you think it could potentially hurt Jabari and how his performance in the NBA would be if he's on a team that's loaded right now, right? And they just play such good team basketball. Do you think that could be potentially damaging him if he has to go to the next level and be the guy, or do you think he's just made differently?
I think it'll be different for him for sure. I think that maybe the best thing that happened to Kevin Durant was going number 2, like you said, because he went to Seattle, which had a little more infrastructure. Odin went number 1, but Portland was a worse situation. In that time too. So I think that there's something to be said for going, but like at this point too, like there are just so many NBA teams that just tank once they know that they can't win. Maybe some of them are taking the $100,000 offered by Stephen Ross here.
That was unreal. That's a good point too. And it's funny too, like how things, how much things change, how much they stay the same, because there's honestly still Portland's in a terrible situation, and most people from Oregon in general, as you know. So some slight shade there. So getting on here to defense, and this is the kind of stuff I feel like that's like, man, I want you to do your best Jimmy Dykes here and just really get overly aggressive and excited about talking about defense and energy and potential, because that guy, my God, I don't know how he doesn't sweat there. He's like, he has the energy of Bruce Pearl. He just doesn't sweat.
All right. So here's the deal with Jabari Smith's defense. All right. You got a big guy. He's 6'10". He's not going to back down from it. How am I doing with my Jimmy Dykes? I'm going to talk at a normal. So I don't like it. I don't have that.
We're there, but this is great.
I haven't had my Red Bull yet today.
Oh man.
So
He just gets up and starts like checking Carl Ravitch like in between timeouts, and Carl's like, I don't play basketball. Fucking stop.
but yeah, so defense. I mean, Jabari is really good at defense. In the Kentucky game, there was a time when Keon Brooks was trying to back him down, and Jabari just held his ground. Then Keon tried to shoot a turnaround jumper on him, and Jabari like timed it perfectly and just swatted it into oblivion. So
right.
He's got that defensive timing. He's he's not going like he doesn't necessarily put his best effort forward every possession defensively, but I don't think anybody in the NBA does that either. So
no.
I think that'll fit. But when he needs a stop, like he's a guy who can position his feet. He can hold, like he's stronger than he looks with that wiry 6'10" frame. I remember when Kevin Durant was going through the NBA combine, he couldn't even do, one rep of the 185 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's not a requirement to be an elite player. Durant's one of the best that has ever done it, and he couldn't do that coming out of college. I bet Jabari could throw up 185 pounds a few times.
Hey, it's so funny. It's so funny the difference in combines, because the NFL combine's awesome to watch, right? It's just like the underwear Olympics, and everyone's all excited about watching these dudes, like, how physically strong they are and gifted. And then you go to the NBA combine. I've never heard, that's the first time I've ever heard anyone even reference the bench press at the NBA combine. I don't know if I even know like the drills and stuff like that. I'm assuming it's like all like, pretty generic stuff, but I mean, it's like, it's a sport that they're definitely like, yeah, it doesn't matter. If you're not strong, it's fine. We'll find a place where you could shoot. That's just bottom line.
It's literally the first and only time I've ever heard them reference the bench press at the combine. So yeah, I don't know. But I mean, that brings us to energy, where I'm also going with Jabari. And I mean, I don't know, Banchero just seems a little like he sulks a little bit at times on the court.
Yeah.
Like
I do that, so I get it. Yeah.
There's a time in the FSU game where like he went like 15 minutes in the second half without like doing really anything. No assists, no point. Like
I'm checking my watch here, Adam. That is that's almost the entire second half. That is not good.
Almost the entire, yeah, exactly. And then he did make a couple nice plays down the stretch to send it to overtime. But like you gotta, like if you're gonna be a number one overall pick, you gotta like bring it. You gotta bring it consistently. You can't be like, oh, I forgot that Banchero was out there for a while.
Right. There's no excuse to lose that game.
Yeah, so I'm going to give the edge to Jabari there. But like also I think that he definitely feeds off of KD Johnson, who is a certified psychopath, Dylan Cardwell, who is perhaps the most confident 10th man I've ever seen in my entire life.
Dude, this whole team.
Wendell Green, he knows how to fire up a crowd too. So this whole Auburn team is just teeming with energy. So I think that Jabari certainly feeds off of that.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, honestly, it's hard not to. And again, like I'll say, like it's, and I'll save this question for the end of a comp to this team, and it'll be a football team. But like, man, it is like you said, like there's just so much talent there. And it's like one after another after another. And somebody tweeted this the other night, and I don't think it was like a blue check or a journalist or a peer. I think it was an Auburn fan who has just been in my mentions, reminding me of how bad Alabama is compared to Auburn in basketball this year. But he was making the point that it was I would absolutely hate KD. Like if he wasn't on my team, would hate him. And I was like, yeah, he is that guy that is like, he is the perfect team guy for your team. And every other team in the country and fan of that team hates him, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. But, Jabari at least seems pretty likable too. So
yeah, that's true.
So he's got that going for him.
All right, let's get to the last one here, because it's the word that I've always hated seeing on my middle school report card: potential.
Yeah, I think that, so Duke uses Banchero a little bit more. So we see him in more situations where, he's showing his full range of skills. He's showing his rebounding. He's showing his volume shooting. He's showing his passing. He sometimes runs a little bit of point forward for them. But Jabari, like, they don't use him that much because they're so deep. Like we discussed this. So when you combine that jump shooting, when you combine the fact that he's starting to show like he can take that jab step, and instead of immediately shooting, he can put the ball on the floor and get to the rim a little bit more. Like the fact that we don't really know if he can do more with passing
Right.
because he doesn't have to do that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I don't know how good Jabari Smith can be. I know he's really, really good right now and the SEC Freshman of the Year, but the sky's really the limit here.
Right.
Like Kevin Durant played 35 minutes a game for Texas back in his 1 year in college. Jabari was averaging like 25 minutes per game last I checked. So
those are two different players on two different teams. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't know who convinced me of this or what I watched that convinced me of this, but to this day, one of my biggest regrets in March Madness tournament pick'em is I saw Kevin Durant and I was like, Texas is going to win it all, flat out. They were bounced in the second round, so that was not good. Hopefully that doesn't happen for Jabari in Auburn. So,
well, that's the difference though, is that Auburn is 10 deep and Texas is like 3 deep.
So, 1.5, but yeah.
1.5, yeah, probably. So I'm excited to see what Jabari can do at the next level. And like for those reasons, I just really think that, there's going to be, this debate's going to be going on until the draft in June. But right now, as things stand, I really think that Jabari has the edge on Banchero for potential and just in being the number 1 overall pick.
I love it. And let's get you out of here on this question. And it's something that it kind of actually just dawned on me during this segment of this interview is that we brought up the 2010 Auburn thing and you had the appropriate response of no, there's not, you were not impressed with that comp that whoever the stranger on Twitter was that had. But I'll say this team, and again, I'm an Alabama fan. We've talked about this before, and that's innately where my cheering goes, right? This team kind of reminds me of a certain SEC football team from the past couple of years in the fact that you talk about all of these words you use, like these buzzwords like energy and the defense and how the team guys and just how well they mesh together, how much they love each other, how much the fans have responded to them, how much fun the coach is having. Is Auburn basketball in 2021, 2022, are they LSU 2019 in football?
I knew that's where you were going with
it. It makes sense, to be honest, man.
And that's to me, that's a better maybe comparison than 2010 Auburn football, right? Because Joe Burrow was the number 1 pick, so they have that going for them. So that could be Jabari. I think that Coach O and Bruce Pearl.
My God, those two are a match made in heaven.
Yeah, I like the Wendell Green and Katie Johnson being the energy guys when you got Devin White on defense being a crazy person, and you got Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase hitting the gritty after they score and stuff. So,
I mean, but for real too, it's not even just the talent of the team, and I think both of them could. It's obviously more difficult in not taking anything away from what LSU did. It's obviously more difficult to win a basketball national championship and have to go through this run in March and stuff like that. And so we'll see how it goes when we get there. Because as Auburn fans know, I'm not trying to put salt in the wound or bring up old stuff, but I mean, anything could happen, and no matter how good you're playing. I don't know if you remember this, and I'm gonna pat myself on the back once again. It's the second week in a row. We had to do our staff picks for the SEC tournament, and then also the March Madness. I picked Auburn to win the basketball tournament that year, the SEC basketball tournament, and to go to the Final Four. Which I remember saying, I was like, "What? That was dumb. That was real dumb. They got to play murderer's row here." But even then, when they go on this incredible run, it's just like you talk about LSU, who they played 7 or 8 teams in the top 10. That year, Auburn goes through Kentucky, Kansas, and North Carolina just in their region, right? And then if it wasn't for a double dribble, they might win the national championship. So the way this fan base has reacted to them, and I know it's been the subject of a lot of going on Twitter lately about Bama fans and Auburn fans and the crane and all that kind of stuff. I'll tell you this: this is not taking anything with LSU because that's the greatest offense in the history of college football. But the biggest difference out of these two teams is just the fact that Auburn is beating everyone's ass way more than LSU even was, which is really saying something.
Oh, definitely. And I think that's going to continue, especially since they got their wake-up call with that narrow win at Mizzou. I really think that's right. That sparked them a little bit there too.
I'm just glad we don't have to play them again. So that's good news for me.
Yeah. Well, maybe you might face them.
Don't do that.
SEC tournament.
It's been a tough start of the year. Don't put that in the universe.
Mizzou's not going to make it out of the first play-in game for the SEC tournament. So there's no chance Mizzou makes it that far to play Auburn again. But
Well,
we'll see. Alabama might.
Well, we'll see how that goes. If they do, I just hope like maybe we can have an agreement, like as fans and as people and just humanitarians, and just maybe no more crane stuff. Maybe we retire the crane. Okay. All right, Adam, tell everyone where they can find you. We appreciate you joining us, man, and dropping some knowledge on a sport that I obviously am not built to play. And we'll close out.
Yeah, Blue Chip Grit, our basketball newsletter, just launched Thursday. So go to bluechipgrit.com, sign up for that. Follow at SDS Basketball on Twitter. Follow me at Adam Spencer4 on Twitter for the spicier takes that I can't post on the SDS Basketball account. So, yeah,
spicier takes. I want you to start. I'm gonna turn my notifications on just for the spicy takes.
There you go.
No, man, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll do this again next week. And I'm gonna predict it now. We might probably still be talking about Auburn. So until next time, man, we'll see you then.
All right, see ya.